Hello and welcome to the Family Business. I'm Joe Castiglione Jr. I want to let you guys know about our friends at Home Field Apparel. Home Field Apparel is the official OU apparel sponsor of Soonerscoop.com. If you use code SCOOP, you're going to get 15% off your first order. With Thanksgiving coming up, you might want to get your favorite friends and family sizes. It's a good time to get that so you can get them some gear for Christmas time. And so as you can see, the Disco OU hat just came out. I'm actually wearing the Top Dog shirt that's on the second page, Top Dog shirt during the episode today. You're gonna see me in some Home Field apparel this weekend too. I'm thinking about wearing the coach's jacket. It's gonna be a beautiful, beautiful weekend. So head over to Home Field Apparel, use code SCOOP. You're gonna get 15% off your first order. Oh, look at that Top Dog shirt. I'm telling you, it's sick, extra large. It looks really good on me. It's gonna look really good on you with basketball season coming up. And that's also a great segue to our guest today. We had Coach Porter Moser take some time out of his busy schedule being in season to join the family business. With the Battle for Atlantis coming up this week, I think Feast Week is maybe the most underrated week of sports in the year between college basketball, college football, NFL, and a few others. I think it's a great time to plug yourself into the couch, turn on the TV, and watch some college hoops. OU is heading off to the Bahamas to play in the Battle for Atlantis. They are playing Providence in their first game, and then they're going to either play Davidson or Arizona, depending on the win or loss. But there's a lot of good teams in there, Indiana, Gonzaga, just to name a couple others. So it's a really exciting time. They're going to be playing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe. And so turn on ESPN or ESPN2, watch the Sooners. And so we really appreciate Coach Moser sitting down with Isaac and I on the show today to talk a little bit about this year's team. We now welcome in Coach Moser to the family business. Coach, thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it.
Glad to be on here, guys.
You know, it's always a pleasure getting a coach in season. I know we're a few games into the season, but we really appreciate you taking the time to join us. You know, a couple games, it's been a few games, season start. You know, what have you learned from your team so far? You know, this is kind of where you kind of tinkering a little bit, start tinkering with the lineups, and then heading into Feast Week. What have you learned about this team so far?
You know, I think it's right now in the era we're in, it's hard because you got so many new guys. And, you know, you come together in the summer. And back in the day, before the transfer portal and where they could be, you know, immediately eligible, you had retention. You know, I've always had 8 or 9 guys back. So this year, what we're learning is that we had all new guards. I didn't have one returning guard. And that's really tough. What I've learned is we got a combination of some older guards like a Duke Miles and a Kobe Elvis, combined with some really good young guards like Jeremiah Fears and Dayton Forsythe. And what we learned is, man, the older guys have really embraced those younger guys. And I think we can be grittier at the guard spot. You know, I think Fears brings some speed. Duke Miles and Kobe Elvis bring some experience. So I think this team has been really, you know, not entitled. They've come in and, you know, that's one thing you worry also about this day and age with the NIL is entitlement. And these guys have come in and hung on every word these coaches have given them. And I just like where we're at right now.
Yeah, well, last year I went to, you know, some games last year. I really liked Jalen Moore, you know, his physicality, obviously, like athleticism. What was it like to, you know, to get him back? And, you know, like in a day and age when you don't retain, you know, a lot of players.
It was huge for us because, you know, Jalen and his mother, they recognized, you know, how much he got better. You know, he came in from Georgia Tech and he averaged 4 points a game and he averaged almost 12 games in the Big 12. And his shooting percentages went from 17% from 3 to 41. And that's the thing. When you're in a program of just total skill development, getting guys better, you also increase their value. It's a double-edged sword. And you increase your value. And you know, Jalen, from the jump, he's like, we had conversations like, you know, Coach, I want to put my name in for the draft. I want to go through the process. And I just said, absolutely. And he said, if I get the news that I'm going to be able to be drafted, I'm going to stay in. And I said, Jalen, if you get the news you're going to be drafted, I'm going to give you the biggest hug and I want to be there with you. Mm-hmm. And so go through that process. And he went down to Miami, trained for 5 weeks. I went down there and visited him. But he said, Coach, if I don't, I'm coming back. And there were a lot of people that were in his ear. And for him, that loyalty, him and his family recognized that he got better and he recognized the role he was going to play. And it was the same with Sam Godwin. And you look at how much those two right now for our season, how they've started off. There are two, most solid players. And that's what retention does for you. But it was huge for him. And he's embracing the role he's at as a leader.
Early on, too, he's been a spark plug. I mean, his shot looks good. He's shooting it. He's taking over, in the second game of Northwestern State. He just started to take over. Sam Godwin, it's hard not to love Sam just because he just runs up and down the court. He's just getting rebounds back forth. And then there's nothing better than like a Sam Godwin slam. When I could see a slam Godwin, he's had a couple this year that it fires me up. Jalen Moore, I mean, he had a couple games ago. It's just like highlight tape after highlight tape. So, I mean, for all the Sooner fans watching, like there's a lot of good players, but just come watch and come see these highlights that are going to happen.
He's easy to cheer for or root for, you know what I mean?
I think he almost hit his head on one of the dunks the other day. I was like,
I'm telling you, Isaac, you said Sam's easy to cheer for. He is, and he's also hard to yell at. Because he's hard to yell at, man. I was trying to hold him accountable in the other game the other day, and I started to, and he kind of looked at me. I'm like, I know, you're playing 110%. You're giving me absolutely everything you have. He's hard to get on. He's one of those guys that just gives you everything Sam does. And but you know what the two of them are? They're both very athletic. I mean, they both just above the rim players, tough, and so you have that, and then you're combining with the all new guards, and so that's why what I'm liking is just the progression of getting these guards better experience, because I think those two guys are bringing it every day.
Yeah, Kobe had a nice night the other night. I mean, he's just such a solid player, but he dropped 19 in the first half, and I was like, okay, Kobe.
Yeah, I'll take that a lot. Sign me up for that. I mean, it just those are things that it's great when. And what else is good is in the summer, if you would have said our three best shooters the first month of the summer, you would have said Bryson Gadeen, Jadon Jones, and Jeff Wanko. And then Jeff tore his Achilles. He's out. And then Jadon has got a back. He hasn't played yet. And then Bryson started out the year. He hit 3 threes in that first half against Lindenwood, and then he tweaked his ankle. We haven't had him back. So for other guys to step up and shoot it, it just gives us more firepower, because everything we've been working for this summer, your coaches in terms of how we wanted to play, we wanted to analytically shoot more threes. 36% of our shots were from three last year. We wanted to be well over 40% of our shots from three. And so when you lose those shooters that are out from injury, you got Duke had a game where made 4 threes. Then all of a sudden you get Kobe had a game where you made 4 threes. Jalen's had games with 2. Fears have had games with 2. So Glenn made a big one the other night. So if you get more guys that can knock down threes, it's just helping us. So it was great for Kobe to see 4 of those threes go in the other night.
Like you said, you have 2 of, on paper, your best shooters that essentially haven't played yet. And then, with Jeff. And then it's also, you mentioned too, like, not only did you bring in a whole new guards, you had Glenn Taylor that came in the summer, and then Jeremiah Fears came at the beginning of semester, correct? Or I mean, try to bring up a kid that's 17 in the beginning.
I know.
So what?
This was unique. This was unique for me. Like, I'm in July at the Nike Peach Jam in Augusta, Georgia, the EYBL championships. I'm there watching Jeremiah Fears. And 5 weeks later, I'm coaching him. Like, that's never happened. Like, where you're summer recruiting, normally you don't get them for the following year. And so it was unique, but man, the kid's special with his athleticism, he's very dynamic. And the thing about Jeremiah too is you always worry about young kids, especially in this COVID era where you're playing 5th-year seniors. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of 22 and 23-year-olds in college basketball right now. They're on our team. And you worry about a 17-year-old coming in and just physically getting pummeled. Mm-hmm. And offensively, he's physical. Like, he can take a bump. I mean, we call it punish finish, where you're driving and you kind of punish before you finish. He embraces contact, and that's been a real big part of his development and why I think he's going to continue to grow and impact us right away. But very unique to have a young guy like that, come in after missing the whole summer and come in at 17.
His pace of play has really impressed me as well. I mean, he just got a good pace. He really runs the offense, and you could tell why he was so highly recruited and highly regarded in that manner, because comes in and makes some of those plays, and you're like, you start shaking your head. You're like, that's a future NBA type of player right there.
Yeah, is that something that, like, you know, he came in and so obviously he, you know, it happened very fast. Is that something you kind of emphasize, like, in the weight room, you know, when he got here, is just like physicality? Like, what were your coaching points for a young point guard like of his caliber?
There was a physical part of it to where, like, to get stronger, and our strength program here at OU, Ty Terrell, they've done a great job. Abby Herkelman, our nutritionist. So we sat down with, just like we do every player, and get a game plan for him. You know, it was nutrition combined with, you know, all the, you know, the strength stuff. So that was a game plan with it. But also, you know, the coaching part of it was mentally, you know, just, you know, the expectations, to manage those, to, you know, he missed the whole summer. So it was a catch up. Like, it was just one day at a time, get better, win the day, you know, just get better each day. And it's not going to be overnight, because, like, sometimes it's very hard, right? Your first week, like, the other guys, the terminology, the things we do defensively, all those things, they've had 8 weeks of the summer. So, you know, it was a process with them every day. But to his credit, the thing that I've said this many times, the thing that's impressed me the most is his non-entitlement. He's come in as a 5-star kid. He would have been a McDonald's All-American if he would have stayed in high school. And he's come in just willing to learn. Just come in, and that mentality is why his growth continues to go. And I still got to manage it every day, though, because he still, you know, he still wants to be that. He's still the expectations. It's every day. You have to monitor it, because he's a young guy.
That's rare. And then not only the up and downs of a game, but the up and downs of a season. I mean, when you get to conference play now in the SEC, you know, it's kind of funny. You know, the Big 12, widely regarded as the best conference in college basketball. You go to the SEC this year, you look at the Ken Palm rankings, and it's like SEC's at the top, and you're just laughing. You're like, I guess we just have to play in the best conference each year. I mean,
yeah, I'm the good luck charm. I mean, here we go. You know, my first 3 years at OU, it's by far the #1 basketball conference in the country. You know, you had national champions in Baylor, then Kansas, and all of a sudden this year the SEC got old. The SEC with the portal and the NIL, all of a sudden the SEC went and got old, and it's the #1 conference, and it's going to be great. But I as I joke about that, it also is going to give us opportunity. It's going to give us opportunity to get some big wins, and that's why I'm going to use your platform, any platform I can get, to say, man, we got to fill Lloyd Noble. We've got to have a great home court atmosphere. It's great programs have it. You know, I'm going to reference an old Big 12 program. You know, Iowa State, they've done great with their program. That Hilton Coliseum is sold out. It's an unbelievably hard place to play every single game. And why not Lloyd Noble? Why not get people going in there? And, you know, people talk about what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And I'm telling you, it makes a huge difference. I look on some of the big wins we've had there. You know, Alabama was sold out, and we beat the #2 team in the country. We've had some big wins there, and it makes a difference. So we got to fill this thing up. We got a great SEC slate of teams coming in to face us this year.
Exactly. And then, I mean, I know midweek games, you got $2. There's a lot of promotions too. I know we're not there to that point yet, but $2 Tuesday. I mean, God, there's great deals. I'm like, just
if you're a college kid, I don't know why you're not doing that on Tuesdays.
Exactly. You're doing it wrong. I mean, there's many reasons.
I'm with you.
There's many
$2
reasons.
Tuesday, if you're a student, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's great. I remember when I was at A&M coaching, right when I got there, I was like 22 years old, was my first coaching stop. And they had one of the bars had drinking with Lincoln. It was like penny beers. You see dudes walking up, like just throwing change on the bar. And I'm like, those are great. Those are great promotions. So $2 this day and age with the economy. Come on, students, jump on board.
Yeah.
When you're 21.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, of course. I was a sports management major in college, and I pitched this idea in a class. It was like similar to $2 Tuesday, but you bought a mug at the game, and you had unlimited refills.
Yeah.
It was like $15 to buy a mug, unlimited refills at the game, and then we take a bus the Logies after the game. I'm like, the teacher loved it. He's actually in the athletic department, so I don't want to oust him, but he did love the idea, and he's still in the athletic department, but he did love the idea. I said he could drive the bus.
It might be hard to coordinate.
You know what? You guys are going to make your name on this platform by ousting guys. Go ahead and oust him. It ain't me. Just go ahead and oust the guy. That's how you're going to make your name on your platform.
Greg Tipton loved the idea. He was the professor of the class. We got the A. We did some Photoshop with the bus.
Shout out Tip.
There was another guy who worked in marketing at the time, Michael Byrne, and we Photoshopped him on the bus. They loved it. I'm like, we can do this for basketball, baseball. I'm like, just bus the kids to the bars after the game. It's a free Uber. That's what we're doing. But
I was gonna say you guys have a big annual tournament in the Bahamas. You know, how do you think you guys will have an idea of where you stand after being battle tested against some of the good teams that are going to be in there?
So that was like intentional. We knew we had some of these home games early, but you know, you get two, either a scrimmage or an exhibition game. And we decided not to play a non-D1, although there's nothing to disparage non-D1 schools because there's some big-time programs, especially here in Oklahoma. But we decided to play two close scrimmages against Power 5 teams. And so we went and got right out of the gate, you know, just to have that. And I thought we really grew, learned a lot. And now we're getting better game by game here. So going to the Bahamas, it's going to be an unbelievable field. We open up against Providence. They're undefeated as of today. And it's going to be a great Big East physical matchup. We played them last year at home here, which we had a great crowd. It was helped us win. But you know, I think you're going to see Gonzaga. I think early on, Gonzaga's been like probably the most impressive team to me watching them. Watch with that game against Baylor. They just won at San Diego State, which is like
tough,
like one of the toughest places to play in college basketball. So Gonzaga's in it. Providence, Indiana, West Virginia, Louisville, Davidson, and Arizona. I mean, just what a field in the Battle of Atlantis.
For the crowd, yeah, that San Diego State crowd, they didn't win, but it was a phenomenal crowd. I saw a video. It was like, this is a Monday night. Man. Student section up the wall. I was like, that's unreal. Gonzaga's really good. There is a lot of good teams. Good opportunity to get some net wins early in the year. But it's also such an advantage, like you said, playing those close scrimmages, because I can't imagine before. I mean, of course, you see your team in practice, but you have no idea. You play some exhibitions. You know, you may play some home games against some lower level Division I opponents, but then you go in that tournament. But instead, you've already played two Power 5 guys essentially, and then you roll in with a little bit of a better idea heading into Feast Week.
Here's another cool thing for you, for the listeners and everything, because now you can kind of talk about your scrimmages a little bit. I mean, who knows what the NCAA rules are, but you can say this, like, you can do these. So we did this with both scrimmages. I did this. We choreographed situations. So like we said, all right, 11 seconds left. You're down one. The other team's on the free throw line. No timeouts, and you play it out. Then we flip. Then you go side out of bounds, 12 seconds left. So before we played a real game, we did a bunch of situations that you can practice. Because sometimes when you all the time, when you practice those in practice, you're going against your scout team. One, they can kind of cheat it. They know what you're going to do, or you know that. But to do it against another Power 5 team, to run your situations, it's such a benefit. And those are really cool advantages of doing those scrimmages.
I didn't know that. I learned that too. And those are two good Power 5 teams. One that made a lot of portal additions. The other one is currently ranked in the top 25. You can do some research if you want to figure that out. But
Kansas State, Marquette.
Yeah, exactly.
Your platform of this podcast is going to continue to go up because we're just throwing out.
Yeah, exactly.
Those are worthy opponents. Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, Kansas State
got some good burn there for sure.
Gosh, yeah, no, it was good. And then managing the portal, going back to managing the portal, I had a quick question just about how about the dynamic. I mean, this day and age, there's so many players that go into the portal, and then you got to fill X amount of spots. How do you divvy that up across the staff? Because there's thousands of players that go in the portal. How do you find so fast and like dictated down to like, these are the players that we want to go after? Like, how do you attack that as a staff?
So the process is it's brutal, like in terms of just, you got to manage it. But when I say brutal, it's more mentally brutal. So the season, there's a level of stress that goes into the season. You know, you're in November, December, January, February, March, April. you're like 5-6 months of games in basketball. But that kind of stress I've done for 30 some years. I kind of embrace it. I kind of thrive on it. You've learned over years to manage it, understand a couple games a week. It's constant. But there was nothing like the portal. Like right when it started, it was 60 days. And how it goes is the athlete has to put his name in the portal with the compliance office. We have an app on our phone. So we get it. So like right when he officially goes in, right when you have to wait till it hits the app so you can call him. So our staff, we're all on this, obviously connected on group chats on everything when we're not even together. But like if a kid goes in the portal, we have a process of who's calling him, his agent and everything. And but for 60 days, you're also stressing, are your own players going?
For sure.
And I tell you, like, I love it when my player calls me. You're like, hey, they're checking in. But during those 60 days, one of my players calls, I'm like, my heart drops. You're sitting there going, man, is he calling to tell me he's going to the portal? So that's 60 days of stress when you lay your head on your pillow, not knowing who's getting to your players, who's getting in their ear. Then last year it cut to 45 days. And now this year it's 30 days. So it's only 30 days where a student athlete can put his name in the portal. But that's a level of stress. But your staff is constantly, it's a process of, you can't call the student athlete or tamper with them until he goes in the portal. Then you're calling the agent, you're calling the kid, it's speed dating recruiting.
It is.
It's not as much relational.
Yeah.
It's not as much relational as your typical high school recruitment of a kid. It's speed dating. It's call the kid, call the agent, call them, find out what's the NIL, what's this. It's speed dating.
What was the focus of this year's portal class, if we're allowed to ask?
Yeah, so we needed guards, and I really wanted shooting. We knew the things we were studying offensively. We were wanting to really increase our shooting attempts, and then guards. We lost. We had our top 6 back, and we lost our 1, 2, and 3 in the portal. So we knew we wanted some guards, but Isaac, also it was a combination of that selection Sunday professionally was my worst day. Not getting in, and that's a whole nother podcast, and I'll raise your ratings because I'll go on a rant of that selection Sunday. But we got a combination of guys like Jalen Moore and Sam, my staff, that just had this burn in our belly for what happened there. And then we also combined it with some guys that were in it. Kobe Elvis made the tournament. Mo Wagee was in the Final Four. Bryson Gadeen had played in the tournament. Jadon Jones was in the tournament. Then we got some other guys that felt like us. Duke Miles won his conference, but he didn't get the automatic bid because they didn't win the tournament. He was heartbroken. Yeah. Glenn Taylor was on the bubble, one of the first 4 out at St. John's, and he was someone who was heartbroken. So we got a combination, Dove, to where I'm not afraid to talk about March, and how that felt and what we're doing and how, hey, man, we got to beat Stetson. Every game matters, man, when you're trying to get your net up, when you're trying to get your profile going, the analytics. So, like, I'm not afraid to talk about it because we got a group of guys that know with that. But we built a team based on shooting. We needed guards. We needed another big. Mo gives us a defender. So those were things we built in the portal.
The Mo experience kind of reminds me of myself if I was 7 foot. I mean, he goes in there, it's blocks, it's fouls, it's slam dunks. I cannot dunk for what it's worth, but it's an experience. That's what I'm saying. The Mo Wagee experience is something. If you were 7 foot. If I was 7 foot, but he's got a good story too. I was actually talking to somebody on your staff, and I mean, he played 2 years at JUCO, and then he went and played for Bob Huggins at West Virginia for a year, and then obviously at Alabama with Coach Oates. And I'm like, I can't imagine a Coach Huggins practice. And supposedly they're just no fouls, no out of bounds. It's just like a wrestling match. And I'm like, I want to watch that.
Huggy Bear.
Yeah, Huggy Bear.
So I got 2 players. One, Mo Wagee played for Bob Huggins, and then Glenn Taylor played for Rick Pitino, 2 Hall of Fame coaches. But man, my language has got to be in the Sister Jean category. With those guys' experience, they got to be thinking I'm wearing that maroon and gold scarf and in practice and not, being an altar boy. So those are 2. It was great to have, though. You can tell they've been coached by Hall of Fame coaches, and that's That's great. That's a benefit. Those are benefits of the portal. And I'll say this too. People ask me all the time about the portal, whatever I think about it. There's positives and negatives with anything. There's some positives of the portal. You can get guys. You can get guys quick. My opinion is the negative of the portal is when the NCAA said multiple transfers.
Yep.
You can do it every
Agreed.
year. Yeah. That's what's hurt the portal. Because now there might be reasons why a kid goes to a place and, you know what, just not a fit. It's just not a fit. But when you can only do it once, they're not so quick just to give up. They're not so quick to just jump in. There's not as much, like now it's leverage. Every year they can just go in. And I'll say this too. Here's another angle with that. And trust me, I'm not giving the NCAA any out. I don't want to be there. But what happens is they did it, and then all of a sudden, schools, the waiver process, let's just get a waiver.
Yep.
And the NCAA is like, 3,500 against the, getting sued. Yeah. So they didn't want to, all of a sudden they gave all the waivers, and now they're like, all right, let's just give everyone a waiver and let's just everyone have multiple transfers. And to me, that is what's hurt it, because the portal can benefit. Transferring can benefit a kid. They might bring in 2 5-stars and the kid just got buried. He might want to transfer. That happens. But multiple years, every single year, that to me is where the portal got messy.
Yeah, because I'm sorry. Let's, when or a coach leaves, and it's like, okay, it's no longer a culture fit for me. But like you said, if with only one, you're a little less prone to just one give up, but 2 start looking elsewhere. You might stick it out for 1 more year, and then if it's still not a fit, well, all right, this is my one chance. I better pick right. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you'd probably have less influence from people who probably people are in kids' ears all the time now, and it's about money and it's about different things, but. With one chance, it's less likely to go wrong, hopefully, if you do it once, you could just leave again if it doesn't go right. So it's like, I don't know, there's less of a dynamic.
Absolutely. 100%. And you learn to fight through hard. Mm-hmm. You like to fight. I mean, not only as athletes, but as young people, whatever their path in life, you learn to fight through hard. Like I wrote a book. Not that I'm going to use this platform as
plug it.
It's
Go ahead, plug it.
It's called All In, but I wrote it after our Final Four run, and there's this defining moment that I talk about. My defining moment was after my freshman year at Creighton. I had all those demons in my head too. I was All-State. I'm in the Hall of Fame of high school basketball in Illinois as a player and now as a coach in Illinois. But I had those demons. I didn't play my freshman year. I had those demons. Should I leave? Should I leave? And I stuck it out. And I didn't have instant gratification. Mm-hmm. My first 10 games of my sophomore year, I didn't play either. And I remember there was an opportunity. Coach got pissed, came back from a game, and he said, the 5 guys who practice harder are starting. I don't care if it's 5 guards. I started that game and the rest of my career. And that was my defining moment, to fight through hard, because I ended up going to the NCAA tournament, starting in the NCAA tournament at Creighton. Then I went to work for my college coach at Texas A&M, got into coaching, which led me to my career, met my wife at Texas A&M, had 4 kids. And my defining moment was fighting through hard and not quitting at Creighton and transferring. And I fought through it. And it's helped me every stage of my life when stuff has gotten hard, is that I think about that, fighting through, not having instant gratification. Because, it's so easy. Like, hey, I'm going to fight too hard. I want instant results. That always isn't the case. So I think that it hurts the portal, because you learn to fight too hard. And like you said, Isaac, to pause for a second going, man, maybe I need to fight through this, and all that. And that's where I also feel that multiple transfers is hurt.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes you can't really blame the kids, because if you don't have the outlet to leave, you're going to make it work. It's like a lot of things. When there's no other option, you're going to plug and play, and you're going to push. And so, no, for sure. So you had an event, actually, and you had a great point I thought was really cool is, your relationship with Coach Stoops. So you came to Oklahoma, and you talked about how Coach Stoops was a resource and how that blossomed into a friendship. Just talk about a little bit about your relationship with Coach Stoops and, of course, with Isaac on the show. I just thought it was really cool how you guys became friends, and the Chicago connection, of course.
Well, it was interesting. My athletic director at Arkansas Little Rock, my first coaching job, I felt like I didn't know Coach Stoops, but he had worked with Coach Stoops before at previous stops. And so I remember always getting together, and he was always talking about him. So I felt like I knew him from afar. And obviously you're watching this Hall of Fame career, national championship, dominance in college football. And then we had a mutual friend that when I got this job, said like, you immediately got to hook up with Coach Stoops. And he called me like the day I got the job. We talked. He wished luck. He said, when it settles down, let's get together. And so right away we connected, and we connect on a lot of reasons. I just think he's got such a down to earth. I think he's got such an energy about himself. I remember him telling me, like, I go, is at this profile of a school in a small town in Norman. I was coming from Chicago, where you can get lost in Chicago. And I'm like, and I remember meeting him up with him, and he's like, I go, do I really got to watch? Do I got to stay home and not do it? I go, because I know there's previous coaches that just stay home. They stay in a shell. He's like, hell no. He's like, that's why people in Norman love me, man. I'm out. I'm one of them. I'm out. And I'm like, well, first of all, I love that advice. And then just going through, I've had him speak to my teams, and I love his model of how he got there. And it's just my dream to fight through this hard, and what we're doing at Oklahoma basketball. And I think we're one of the only sports that haven't won a national championship here at Oklahoma is men's basketball. And but just as a friend, has been tremendous with advice. It's been fun to have him and Carol as friends, but also as a professional to see what he's done in coaching and talk to him about that as well along the journey of things to do and not do, because it all relates. Coaching young people, it all relates no matter what ball you're bouncing. And so just really blessed to have a friend and someone to bounce things off of.
Yeah, we love seeing you in Chicago. Go Cubs. I see the jersey behind you. That's where I saw you.
I saw you. I remember seeing you up in Isaac. It was $2 Tuesdays there in Wrigleyville when I saw you. Yeah. And so go Cubs for sure.
No coincidence. Yeah, no coincidence. Coach, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, especially in season. A lot of exciting times. And for everybody watching, I'm telling you, get to the LNC. Get to the LNC. Big game, December 4th, Georgia Tech, of course, Paycom. December 14th, Bedlam. That's a great Saturday night, 7 p.m. That's a great time to be there. Paycom play the LSU Cowboys.
Oh, it's in Paycom?
Yeah, it's at Paycom, 7 p.m.
I'll be there.
Yeah, Saturday, 7 p.m., great time. Yeah. And then, of course, the conference slate's going to start up. It's really exciting, too. I mean, so many good teams, new names, it's a lot of excitement. But exactly like you're saying, you can make a difference. I would love to see the actual statistical difference of home and away. It's probably 3.5 to 4.5 points. Like, it's that big of a deal. Thing. Well, Coach, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
You guys, thanks for having me, and wish you all the luck. Keep doing what you're doing, man. You guys are doing an awesome job. Keep building your platform, but you guys are doing an awesome job, and thanks for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it. For everybody watching, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us help you. And we'll catch you next week with another edition of The Family Business. Remember to keep it in the family.